You're not belonging, you're fitting in. And those are two very different things. Belonging is when your full authentic self has a seat at the table. You're welcomed, you're celebrated, you're seen for who you are. You fit in when you break off certain pieces of yourself so that you could fit in to the little box that's been granted to you. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Beyond Words with me, Najwa Zebian. I've always been a firm believer in the power of words to heal what they didn't break and to break what they had no right in breaking. And today's episode is also based on another soul session that I recently had with someone. And the question that she kept asking was, is this really going to be my experience with love? Like when I look back at my life, is this really going to be the end of it? Because she had just gone through a really terrible ending to a relationship that spanned over 2 decades. And in her mind, she's thinking, all this time, I didn't know that all these things were happening. And here was this really bad ending that broke me in so many ways. And how can I ever trust again? How can I ever let somebody love me again? How can I ever believe anything that anyone says? Is this really going to be my life? So it inspired an episode for me that says to you, it's not too late to change your life. It's not too late to choose differently for yourself. It's not too late to wake up tomorrow morning and say, starting this moment, I am no longer operating the way I've always operated. I used to be somebody who didn't need much. Now I need a lot, and there's nothing wrong with that. I used to be a person who gave every person in my life the benefit of the doubt anytime they did anything that hurt me. I am no longer that person. I am now a person who looks at people's actions and decides, does this work for me? Does this show me respect? Does this show me that they've considered me? You can wake up tomorrow morning and tell yourself, I know I've always been the kind of person who puts everybody else in my life ahead of me because I care so much about their comfort, and I've learned to equate love with doing and doing and doing and depleting myself and exhausting myself and leaving nothing for myself. But starting today, I'm no longer that person. Starting today, I am somebody who puts myself first. Say that out loud. Starting today, I am someone who puts myself first. How hard was it for you to say that? And how hard is it for you to think about the consequences? And all the people in your life who are going to say, that doesn't work for me. You've been prioritizing me over yourself all those years, or all those months, or however long it's been. That doesn't work for me. It's going to be so scary for you to start living in a way that you know honors who you are. It honors your truth. It honors the life you want to live. It honors the life that one day you want to look back at and say, that's exactly how I wanted it to be. It's going to be hard to make those decisions, but you can make them. And today I'm going to give you 5 ways through which you can reach that destination of yours. The destination of, starting today, I am living my life in a way that feels authentic to me. And the first step is, and these are in no particular order, this is you take what works for you. The first step is one that we've already had an entire episode on. Stop trying. Sit back and see how the world around you unravels in front of you. Sometimes the only reason that the ceiling isn't dripping is because you're constantly standing on a ladder with really heavy duty tape or with a bucket collecting all the water that's coming in. Sometimes the only reason that a house is standing is because you've adapted to living on a broken foundation. Sometimes the only reason that a bond is still in place, whether it's a relationship, a connection of any sort, with friends, with family, is because you're the one holding it together. Sometimes the only reason that a connection exists in your life is because you're always the one who crosses over to them. You're always the one who crosses that bridge that says, hey, I want you in my life. I care about you. I love you. I this, I that. And so when you stop trying to make the ceiling not drip, and when you stop trying to balance yourself on a broken foundation, and when you stop trying to hold that bond in place and do everything that keeps it intact, and when you stop crossing that bridge over to them every single time, you realize your place in people's lives. And you realize it not just on a mental level, on a soul level. Like the truth is gonna hit you like a truck is hitting you. Because you've been fooling yourself into believing that as long as I try hard enough, everything will be okay. And if it's okay as a result of me trying hard enough, then maybe that's the way it's meant to be. You've been telling yourself those things. Life shouldn't be so hard, and love shouldn't be so hard. You shouldn't always have to be the one troubleshooting problems, and you shouldn't always have to be the one who anticipates when a problem is going to happen and make sure it doesn't happen. You shouldn't be the one constantly anticipating someone else's moods and how they're going to react to something and say, as long as I make sure that they are protected, then everything will be fine. Because you're forgetting about yourself. Stop trying and let the world around you fall into place the way that it actually is, and let it show you your place in every person's life and in every occupation that you hold in this life. And come back to me and tell me what you realized. The second step: stop negotiating your change with people who want you to stay the same. Stop negotiating your change with people who want you to stay the same. Because you're coming to a table that already is determined to not give you what you want. It wants to keep you the same. So stop the negotiation altogether. You decide. You are the one who writes the contract for your own life that says, what would an authentic life look like in my eyes? What is the best life possible that I could live that one day I look back to and say, that's exactly how I wanted to live my life? Stop coming to the table to agree on terms that have already been in place, determined to keep you small, to keep you with no needs, to keep you with a very lowered voice. You don't really cause chaos, or you don't really fight for what you want. Stop coming to those tables. Stop giving people who have already shown you that the only way they'll accept you, love you, respect you is if you stay a minimized, diluted, broken up version of yourself. You stop wondering, how are they going to deal with me waking up tomorrow and saying, I'm no longer living my life in the way you want me to live it? And even when you do wonder, you say, that's not on me. Your only goal in life is to live your life as authentically as possible. Your goal in life isn't to sit there and wonder how everyone else in your life is going to agree or disagree with what's authentic to you. That's on them. And I know you are used to carrying everyone's emotions. You are so used to wondering about how they're going to handle certain things and protecting their emotions, protecting them from disappointment, protecting them from just the reality of who you are and the reality of what you want for yourself. But just because you've been used to that doesn't mean that you can't put an end to it today and say, I'm no longer carrying the responsibility of how you feel and how you think of what I choose to do for myself. Stop negotiating your change with people who want you to stay the same. You will always, always lose that negotiation. So there is no negotiation to begin with. There is I've decided for myself. I know it's going to be hard on you. I know it's a big change for you, but my energy won't go into soothing your emotions. It will go into navigating this change for myself. It's already hard enough to break the patterns I've been living through my whole life. I've been abandoning myself just so you could accept me. And I'm saying no more. I don't want to ask your permission anymore. Because there is a person who's been sitting in the leadership position in my life, but taking a back seat. As if I'm just a carry-on in my own life. As if I'm living on the margins of my own life and you're the one who gets to write the script. That ends now. I'm the one lifting the pen and writing my story. No longer on the margins. I'm no longer living in black and white. I'm no longer living in a way that is a footnote in my own life. I'm in the center of that page, in the center of that book. Step number 3, and this is going to be a really, really hard one because you might not even realize that you've been living this way. But start living outside of survival mode. Survival mode may have been your mode of living for so long that you don't even realize, I'm in survival mode. And the best way for me to describe it to you is, do you remember when you would be able to start your computer in safe mode? So it had very limited functions. Everything was just basic. You get what needs to be done. You don't get full access to all the apps and all the downloads and all the functions. It's very basic. You get by. Survival mode is exactly like safe mode. And it resembles it in so many ways. Just the word safe. You're trying to keep yourself safe because you think you're in danger. Another example is when your phone is on like 10% and you get the notification at the top if you want to switch to low power mode. So everything is moving a lot slower. You don't really have access to every single app that you normally use because those take up so much energy. So your phone is trying to preserve the battery. That's survival mode in real life. So the best way for you to figure out whether you're actually living in survival mode is this. How fast do you move during your day? How rushed are you? You're doing the dishes or you're completing a certain task and your mind is already thinking of a million other things that need to be done. Or you're eating and you're eating very quickly and you're watching something as you're eating. The urgency that comes with living tells you you're just surviving. And I need you to, right now, when you're thinking about all of this, literally just stop, take in a deep breath, and exhale as loudly as you can. And tell me how that feels to stop your body from rushing so much through life and having that sense of urgency, like, I need to get this done, and I need to get that done, and I need to be done by this time, and I don't have time for this. Who's chasing after you? Who's rushing you? Who's causing you to feel like you are working on a hamster wheel with no end in sight? Like you are constantly trying to get you're in a race and you're trying to get to the finish line, and the finish line keeps moving further and further ahead. And so you're so exhausted, but you're still moving with a sense of urgency because you're like, I have to finish all of this. That's a big indication that you are living in survival mode. And we don't want that anymore. One practical strategy is every time you catch yourself being urgent, every time you catch yourself doing something with your shoulders hunched over or with your head down, but you're just working so chaotically, straighten your back, take a deep breath, hold your breath in. You may have heard about this before. It's called boxed breathing or timed breathing. You can breathe in for 4 seconds and hold for 4 seconds and then exhale for 4 seconds. That's the way to regulate your nervous system, because your nervous system is the one that's keeping you in survival mode. And it doesn't mean it's your enemy. It's your protector. It's trying to protect you from the consequences of not living that way, because you've been taught to believe, if I don't get everything done, and if I don't work fast, and if I'm not constantly productive, then something's wrong. People are going to walk away. People are going to see me differently. People are going to think I'm not good enough, and I already believe that about myself, so I'm going to work really fast and really hard to make sure everything in my life is organized. But it's not ever been more chaotic than it actually is right now. You can accomplish a lot more when you don't work with a sense of urgency that says, we're being chased, we have to get this done. When you just say to yourself, I trust in my ability to manage all the things I have to get done. And if I can't, then I will vocalize that. And I'm not going to take it as an indication that something's wrong with me or that I'm not perfect or that I'm not good enough just because I'm not able to get everything done in a calm, slow, restful way. Another way for you to regulate your nervous system and to slow yourself down is when you're feeling this like overwhelm. And I know you know what I'm talking about. When you hit a point where you know you have so much to do, but you've thought about it so much and you've catastrophized it so much that you just freeze. You feel like there's nothing you can do, but you're still very worried about it all. And this works, okay? If you're not watching me, I'll try to explain it to you, but crisscross your arms over your chest. So your left hand is going to land on your right shoulder. Your right hand is going to land on your left shoulder. So your arms kind of look like an X. It's like a very close pose to hugging yourself. And now that your hands are resting on your shoulders, you start tapping back and forth, back and forth. So you're tapping first on your left or right shoulder, and then you alternate. And you keep going. And even as I'm doing this, I'm going to yawn because that's what ends up happening. Usually when you yawn when you're doing things like this, like the tapping on your chest, the deep breathing, you start yawning, it means that your nervous system is actually relaxing. It's reorganizing in a way that it's coming back to a calm state where it's not in like troubleshooting mode and what's the next bad thing that's going to happen and I need to be prepared for it and whatever. You slow it down. The tapping really, really works. Okay? So I need you to do it. Yawn as many times as you need to. It doesn't mean that you're tired in a way that's like, I need to go to bed, even though there is nothing wrong with doing that. It's kind of like your body telling you, thank you for slowing down and listening. So those are 2 practical strategies. If you guys honestly want me to make a whole episode on these strategies, just let me know. Send me messages, leave comments, whatever, and I will listen to you. Stop living in survival mode. And the opposite of that is to live an authentic life that feels led by you, where you trust yourself, where you trust in your ability to lead yourself in a way that is safe, not in a protective kind of way, like I want to stay small, but safe in a way that says, be yourself, be authentic, be vulnerable. And if things don't work out, we can handle them. If we fail at something, we're going to feel the pain of disappointment and the pain of, I really, really had hopes for this, but we can survive it. When you start living in a way that's outside of your survival mode, you can actually sleep and feel like you're rejuvenated when you wake up. You feel like you're living your life in a way that's not so urgent and chaotic and just constantly full of stress. And I know you're aching to live in that way. Think of all the people in your life. This is going to lead me to my next point, but I need you to start thinking of all the people in your life who add to that pressure, who add to that urgency, who anytime that you have fallen off the hamster wheel, they've criticized you, they've belittled you, they've made you feel like something was wrong with you. Or when they've noticed that you actually move at a slow and steady pace, they've criticized you for having an easy life or for not being stressed enough in a way that makes you feel like you're entitled. Think of all those people, okay? Our fourth point is break the bonds that hold you to an inauthentic you. Break the bonds that hold you to an inauthentic you. Here's an example. You have a friend in your life who has this unspoken expectation that you're okay with speaking badly about people. You're okay with gossiping. And you've gotten the message over the years from that friend or over the months or however long you've known them that if you raise your voice when gossip comes up and say, I don't think that's actually very nice, that you're going to be treated like you're goody two-shoes or too naive, or that you're not cool enough. They send you that message over time. So you have to, absolutely, every single time before you're in the presence of that friend, you have to decide that I can't be myself during this interaction. I have to hide certain parts of myself, or I have to pretend in order to fit in. And if you've done that, please do not judge yourself. Do not shame yourself. We do it out of survival. We don't do it because we actually enjoy the gossip. We don't do it because we actually enjoy putting other people down. And you know this because as you're sitting in that environment with that friend, there's a part of you that's thinking, what am I doing here? This is so wrong. But if it's the only environment that welcomes you in a certain way, you think, I'll put up with that. But now's the time that you recognize that every time you decide to be inauthentic, to pretend, to hide certain parts of yourself in order to keep a connection in your life intact, you are strengthening the pattern that says, this is all I deserve. You're strengthening the pattern that says, as long as I hide certain parts of myself successfully, I will belong. You're not belonging, you're fitting in. And those are two very different things. Belonging is when your full authentic self has a seat at the table. You're welcomed, you're celebrated, you're seen for who you are. You fit in when you break off certain pieces of yourself so that you could fit in to the little box that's been granted to you by that person, by that environment. We don't want to fit in anymore. We want to belong. Like, if you're not watching me, even as I did that, my body feels tense right now. Because what you're literally doing every time you're shrinking yourself or hiding certain parts of yourself or pretending to be someone you're not, pretending to be okay with certain things that you're not okay with, you're breaking yourself. You're crushing yourself together to fit in a place that doesn't deserve you. You're crushing yourself to fit in a place that hasn't earned you, but it somehow convinced you that it's an honor to be there. And you've convinced yourself that it's an honor to be there. But then every time you're there, there's that inner conflict that says, this feels terrible. I don't feel good. I know this is not the right place for me. Break the bonds that hold you to an inauthentic you. When you start doing that, the best way I could describe it for you that you're going to feel is you're going to feel unanchored, and it's going to feel so scary. Like if you were a balloon that was held in place, you know those birthday balloons that have like a really heavy weight at the bottom to keep them in place? And you were anchored in environments that told you, here is how to be, here is how to speak, here's what's accepted, here's what's not accepted. And now all of a sudden you say, I don't want to be here anymore. And so you've cut the cord, you've cut the bond that's held you to that heavy weight. What happens to a balloon when you release it? It has the whole world to go through. And it's scary. And all of a sudden, the things that you were looking down on that were so big because you were so close to them start becoming smaller and smaller. The higher you go, the further you go. And it's scary because you're like, well, I don't know where to land. I don't know what to do. But there is beauty in being unanchored. There is beauty in not knowing what's next. It's so much scarier to not know what's next. But it's also so much more liberating to not know what's next. Because you know what that means? It means that you're moving towards something that's no longer familiar, when your familiar has always been bad. Your familiar has always crushed you. It's always made you feel like you need to be a lot smaller than you are. So be unanchored. And make room for the discomfort that comes with that. Acknowledge it. Say, I get it. We're not used to this, but we've decided to be authentic. And part of being authentic is no longer holding ourselves to people who only accept us as an inauthentic version of ourselves. The only way to find people who accept us authentically as we are is to make room for them. Really cheesy analogy, but if you have a freezer full of frozen food, there's no space for you to add anything to it. If you have a life that's full of toxic friendships and relationships and acquaintances, and just every single part of your life demands of you to be a certain way that doesn't resemble you, what space have you left for people to walk in and say, I love you for who you are, I accept you as you are, I respect you as you are? You've left no room. Break the bonds that hold you to an inauthentic you and start building bonds where you are fully present as you are. And the last step is, and I know some of you might look at this as, oh my God, I'm being selfish. You're not being selfish. Let your world revolve around you. I remember like a couple decades ago, I was going to say decades ago. I'm 35 years old, so I can't really say decades in a way that makes it seem like it's so many decades ago. About 20 years ago, I remember my sister-in-law was wearing a t-shirt that says, the world revolves around me. I don't know. It stuck with me somehow. But I took it as a negative thing at the time. The world revolves around me means I'm selfish. I only think of myself. People have to bend over backwards for me. That's how I saw it. And it probably came from the belief that you don't think of yourself. That's how you're a good person. You sacrifice yourself. That's how you're a good person. But if the world revolves around you, the tables have turned. And instead of you being the person who sacrifices yourself for everybody else, you become the person that everybody sacrifices themselves for. So you tell yourself, I'll never live in a way where the world just revolves around me. But I'm here to tell you, let your world revolve around you. And that doesn't make you selfish. It doesn't make you somebody who doesn't consider others. You can let your world revolve around you and still consider the people in your life. You can let your world revolve around you and still be nice to the people in your life. You can let your world revolve around you and still go out of your way to make other people happy, to make their lives easier, to make them more comfortable. And you know what? When your world revolves around you, you don't do any of that with resentment. Listen to that again. When your world revolves around you, the things you do for other people don't come with resentment, because their comfort that you've given them, the love that you've given them, the ease you've added to their life doesn't come by crushing your back. It doesn't come by you bending over backwards and breaking yourself into pieces in the process of making their lives easier, of making them feel loved, of making their lives more comfortable. All of that you're giving them is coming on top of what you've given yourself. It's the overflow. How beautiful is that? So let your world revolve around you, not in a way that says, I only think of myself and people don't mean anything to me. And as long as I'm happy, I don't care how other people suffer. No, that's not who you are. When you let your world revolve around you, it means that you, first and foremost, prioritize that your true self lives. And that true self includes honest you, considerate you, loving you, boundaryful you, hardworking you, wanting to do the best that you can do you, but not at the cost of not living your life. So you're not doing those things so that other people could see you a certain way. You're doing those things in honor of the truth of who you are. When your world revolves around you, boundaries are essential. They're not something you think 10 times before you verbalize or before you actually live through. You just live that way. It's essential to have boundaries when you let your world revolve around you. Because you know what boundaries do? They protect you. They protect that true self of yours that wants to live. They protect that true self of yours who your whole life is now revolving around. And not only do your boundaries protect you from being mistreated by others, from being taken advantage of others, but they also stand as a wall that comes in the face of somebody saying, there's this whole beautiful jar of honey, that's who you are, and I want it all. Your boundaries say, no, I decide what you get from this. You teach people the rules that it takes to be in your life and to have access to you. And that's not to say be full of yourself in a negative way. Be full of yourself in a very good way. You know who you are. So you stop allowing people to just do whatever they want just because you're there and they're in your presence. Boundaries are like, if you read Welcome Home, boundaries are like the fence that you have around your home. The purpose isn't to shut people out and say, nobody's allowed in here, and I have this big, beautiful home, and nobody's allowed in here. It's not that at all. It's to give you choice. It's to allow you to decide who gets in and how long do they stay and when do they leave, etc. Let your world revolve around you. And what's going to happen as a result is that all the worlds that you've been revolving your life around will start to show you who they are. And they will start to show you whether they deserve an ounce of you altering anything in your life, including yourself, to keep their worlds intact. Remember, there was a line I read from The Only Constant a few episodes ago where I said, if the world around me falls apart as a result of keeping the world within me intact, then let it fall apart. My job isn't to keep the world around me intact at the price and at the cost of breaking myself apart, just so that things around me don't fall apart. My job isn't to break myself into pieces and stretch myself to the bone, trying to please everyone in my life and making sure they don't get upset, they don't get disappointed. But I'm upset and I'm disappointed and I'm broken and I don't know who I am as a result. If the world around you needs to fall apart for the world within you to stay intact, let that world around you break into tiny, 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 tiny pieces. As long as it means you stay whole. Your only job in your life is to take care of this human that you were given the moment you took your first breath. And that's yourself. Don't catastrophize it and dramatize it in a way where you think, if I let my world revolve around me, and if everything around me falls apart, then that means I caused it. You didn't cause it. Your choice to live your life in a way that's authentic to you, that's your decision. You didn't decide for the world around you to be displeased with you. You didn't decide for the world around you to have all these issues with who you are. That's on them. They can deal with it. I don't care who it is. Your family, your friends, people who love you. I don't care who it is. You have one life to live, and you don't know when that life will be taken away from you. Choose today to start honoring it. Stop trying. Stop negotiating your change with people who want you to stay the same. Stop living in survival mode. Break the bonds that hold you to an inauthentic you, and let your world revolve around you. You may have noticed that we didn't have a words from me to you or words that found me segments today. And that was very intentional because this whole episode was from The Only Constant. I walked you through chapter 5, changes we need to make, through this episode. This was the hardest chapter for me to write. And it wasn't because I didn't know the answers. It was because I knew the answers and I knew how far away from living through them I was at the time that I wrote this. So trust me when I tell you, I know how hard it is to think that you can't change your life. I know how hard it is to feel like you're stuck being the way that you are. You can change it. You can start right now with one simple step. So you choose what that simple step is going to be. And if this episode inspired you, if it moved you, if it woke you up to something, share it with someone that you know it will do the same for. And I hope that it helped you find healing beyond words. And until next time, have a wonderful day.